Welcome back, everybody, to the Hearthstone Global Games. Hungary just got their first win, but unfortunately they are still out. And now we move on to Netherlands versus Argentina. My name's Dan Gaskin, and I, of course, have Lorinda with me, as always.
Thank you. Did you see any of that?
I did see a lot of it, yeah.
It was pretty ridiculous.
Pretty crazy. Get a few different decks when you've got nothing to play for, or you can just kind of have a little bit of fun. We are going to see decks like that come out, though.
Yeah, and fair play to them for taking it seriously, but also entertaining us. That's the perfect balance.
Perfect balance, but now we move on to Group C. Netherlands currently sitting pretty at the top, Argentina at 1-1. Now, the implications for this group are basically if Netherlands win, they're through, but they are already through anyway. Argentina, if they win, they're through. However, if they lose, they just need to be beating Taiwan's current game record of -1. So that's the cutoff point at the moment.
All about those third place finishes for some of these teams today. Well, for whoever finishes third, it's going to be about it, I guess.
Yep.
There's going to be a third place in every group. That's how things work.
That is how things work. Let's have a look at the roster then and see who's going to be competing against each other. Of course, the Netherlands is an absolute monster of a side. Thijs, Tyler, Theo, and Mitsuhide. And on the side of Argentina, Neil, they're a team that we shouldn't be messing around with either.
Yeah, PNC is one of my favourite players. He is already been to HCT finals, so has Snail. He was one of the first. He was the first Tavern hero to get through. Now Gaiden Ildane, also fantastic players. Very powerful team, very powerful group this with South Korea as well in there, and the Philippines.
Very powerful, as you can see, the gorgeous sights. And we always say of each of these countries, and you know what that means. It means it's fact time from me.
All right.
I'll go with Netherlands because we can see the Netherlands on the screen. They're actually massive licorice eaters, Neil.
Okay.
They consume about 32 million kilograms.
Well, each?
No, just as collective country.
Okay.
About a year.
That's a lot of licorice.
A lot of licorice, isn't it?
All right, so that's it. That's all we're going to get for facts for today, yeah?
That can be the only factor if you want.
Is there any Argentina facts?
There is Argentina facts as well, yeah. You know Lionel Messi, famous footballer. In his hometown,
Personally?
They actually banned parents calling their children Messi because they didn't want to confuse people.
Ah, that's ridiculous.
You are so popular that kids can't be named after you.
Now, I believe also today is your birthday.
Today is my birthday, yes.
There we go. I've got something for you.
This is actual...
That's an actual birthday present. He didn't know about this either.
Oh, thank you. Happy birthday to
Should
me.
be easy to undo, because that's how
It's relatively
designed.
easy to undo.
Excuse us, guys. It's his birthday. He's nearly as old as me now.
And Neil has bought me a fidget spinner. I think
It lights up and all sorts of stuff.
Does it light? Amazing. If you didn't join us like a few weeks ago, Neil broke my fidget spinner because, you know, I'm hip and down with the kids and I use fidget spinners. Thank you so much. That's very kind action.
I thought I'd just, you know, make things good.
Let's have a look at the matchup of today and see what classes we're going to see then. Argentina and Netherlands going head-to-head, PNC versus Mitsu. Oh, you dropped my fidget spinner!
That was you! That was you. Okay, you carry on.
All right, so PNC versus Mitsuhide first up. Priest versus Paladin. We're starting to see quite a lot of Priest now at the moment coming through. Of course, we did see a Priest in the previous game.
Right.
However, it was somewhat of a different Priest, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Priest in the previous game was just Big Priest.
Big Priest. Is that a thing? No.
It is now. Hungary have made it a thing by losing with it live in front of hundreds of millions of viewers back at home.
Yeah, but at least they still go through. Oh, no, wait, Hungary don't.
That's not how it works.
Damn it.
Okay, Mitsuhide, PNC, both at home. They will, as always, have their teammates in their ears. You're enjoying that, aren't you?
No, I'm trying to turn it off. It just keeps... There we go.
They have 5 different settings on each fidgety bit.
That must have cost a bomb.
It did cost more than £1.
Thank you so much. So, Priest versus Paladin. It's interesting how Priest at the moment has gone from being very much Silence Priest, and everyone playing Silence Priest, to then Dragon Priest coming into the rocks again, and then now we're seeing people trying to develop this combo Lyra Priest with the Light Warden as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel that deck is more built for ladder.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really counter anything. It's just a good deck. Whereas things like Silence Priest that we see a lot more of here, those sort of decks are decks that are designed to counter things. And so where you want to go with your Priest is basically down to the meta you're playing in.
Now, I think because X-Hope brought that Light Warden Priest to, or is bringing it to HCT this weekend, we're starting to see a little bit more of it, not just on ladder, but we actually saw it yesterday as well. Teams saying, well, if he's going to bring it to the Spring Championships, then why shouldn't we play it as well? For PNC, though, I think he is more than capable of making a decision for himself. An absolutely phenomenal player, but he's going up against Mitsuhide, a very successful player in his own right too.
Mitsuhide, yeah, just winning stuff this year. Seat Story winning DreamHack Winter and making a decent run at it this time around in DreamHack 2. PNC understands other countries far better than we do. Like, whenever I've bumped into PNC, he'll tell me like what's going on around me far better than I have any idea what's going on. So maybe he should be casting this and playing that at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, does that mean you
that means I can't? Yeah, I was going to do the switch there. I thought, no, actually, that doesn't work either. Okay, we'll stick to where we are.
I wouldn't be in favour of Argentina getting through the group if you had to replace PNC, to be honest, Neil. And we're going to see the UK Paladin again. We saw it in the previous game, and you were saying it was a meme, Lorinda, the UK Paladin. It got to rank 1 legend. How can it be a meme?
I mean, it was... Sure, it's obviously a decent deck. It's got an extra bit of early game in it. But also, you know, anything that's called UK anything tends to be a bit of a meme.
That's true. Yeah, I can go with you there.
So, you know, UK casters.
UK casters, yeah.
It's like wherever you go, in our brightly coloured shirts is just a meme.
Yep. So if you haven't seen the UK Paladin, the reason why we're calling it UK Paladin is, of course, Jambray, a UK player, took it to rank 1 legend at the end of last season. The only real difference is the Argent Squires and the Dread Corsairs, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just that little bit of an extra oomph in the early game.
Yeah, but it's so much extra because they have so much synergy. We were talking about this earlier. The Argent Squires can be buffed with Tarim, they can be buffed with the regular cast, Spike Steed, Blessing of Kings, and having that Divine Shield means they get to use it more.
And Rallying Blade as well, of course, in conjunction will be fantastic, but it does look like, I mean, going up against the Priest, which we still can't tell what Priest it is yet. That's the only thing. That's where Priest is at. It could still be Dragon Priest for all we know.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell, right? But you would feel that it might even be Dragon Priest here. Why do Priest players feel the need to do that?
Or to heal up and a
heal up
minion
just to
that
say,
isn't healed?
I can't do anything. I'm going to heal up your minion to show anger.
Where do you think the most respect lies? Healing your opponent's face, healing your opponent's minion, or healing your own face?
I think healing your opponent's face when he's actually injured.
Oh, that's a big statement, isn't it?
It's like, I can either do 70 to you or I can't do 20, so I might as well heal you and let's see how it goes. Still no real bead on this, other than we know it's almost certainly not a Silence Priest, but they don't really exist anymore anyway, unless they contain a Shiraj.
Yeah, so having to play Talon Priest just on curve. I mean, the 3-4 body is fine. Unfortunately, this is going to open the way gate for Netherlands being able to coin out True Silver champion and just use the Dread Corsair as well. Not actually using the card.
I was going to say, we haven't seen it open the way gate, and this is why this deck has so much more synergy with the Dread Corsairs. Yeah, opening the way gate would have been something that Hungary would probably have done in the ace match if we'd got there.
Of course, Patches is another card that's in addition to this UK Paladin list.
I mean, something that Jambay has always been incredibly good at is making decks with huge chunks of synergy. A bit like Stan Sifka in that way, except Jambay always does it with Paladin. And Sifka does it with whatever he fancies. But and you can see all the extra synergies here. Dread Corsair and Patches, who would have thought that? Then you play 4 weapons, you're like, oh, actually, yeah. We get a 3-3 for naught in a deck that's trying to hit you in the face quite a lot with buffs, which means we've got more things to buff. We've got Divine Shield, so things don't die, so we can buff them more easily. You can still see how it all fits together.
You can. The best was when Jambray posted the list on social media, and then we had replies from other pros trying it, and they were like, yeah, we don't see what all the fuss is about, because it was mulligans with 2 Blessing of Kings and Patches in that,
right,
for example. And they're like, how do you win with this deck? But we can see now from Mitsuhide, when you get that start, yes, okay, he's against a Priest, quite a slow deck, so you've been given the chance to, but this is already quite a threatening board.
That exact hand, Patches with double Blessing of Kings, got that exact hand in his first game with the deck against Rogue, and he won. He got that hand after mulligan, Patches double Blessing of Kings, and he still won the game. He's like, is this real? Did I just win that? Yeah.
There you go, there's just another free 3-3 there for you.
Free 3-3.
Yeah, I think that's probably about time as well, because this Holy Nova is going to bring a swift end to some of these 1-1s. You may have to just play the Gentle Megasaur just to get a big body on the board here for Mitsuhide.
You could play Dread Corsair, Vilefin, both of those live against Holy Nova. And then just make a little Paladin dude with the intention to Megasaur next turn. You're right, 5-4 minion, not the worst case, but if it gets deathed, you don't really do a lot of damage next turn.
Yeah, I think I'm with you actually. Corsair into Inquisitor, into dude, or a little Murloc dude, because then you may have something to use in conjunction with the Megasaur later.
Yeah, you want to keep the board as wide as you can as well. because when your board gets cleared, you have to make another board, and Tarim's going to march towards this at some point.
And it looks like Mitsuhide is on board with you there, Neil.
He's good against the Holy Nova. Now he's got to work out how he's going to play around the Dragonfire.
Yeah, I mean, Holy Nova into Dragonfire is a pretty good way to get back into any game. But the trouble is for PNC, we've not seen any minions. Really, he had Talon Priest, and then it's been like, what? Well, what else is in this deck? There's just a whole bunch of spells at the moment.
Yeah, he's now trying to make sure there's no burst. Like, it's something like a Bloodlust, which thankfully for him is not a Paladin card, would be terrifying right now. Thankfully for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
That's not a Paladin card.
So I think you have to just play the Megasaur onto just the one Murloc here.
I think you can be genuinely scared of Dragonfire, though.
Looks like PNC is joined by friends.
Wow. What sort of tree is that, by the way?
Is it apples?
It's some sort of
Pepper?
chilies?
Oh, chilies. Chiles.
Chile. I knew that was coming the second I said it. Chile tree. Hot. And yeah, he's actually going to go very slow here. Dragonfire Potion. This is the problem for most Paladin decks if they run out of stuff. This deck tops out at 7, assuming it is card for card UK Paladin. I've got a feeling that somebody at some point is just going to turn and say, I still want my Tyrion.
Yeah.
Like, I'm topping out at 7. I can just sneak a Tyrion in here, can't I?
The fact he can go Spike Ridge Steed into Spike Ridge Steed is pretty filthy, to be honest, from Mitsuhide. And he's got a big grin on his face as well. He knows he's in a very comfortable position. However, Dragonfire Potion may wipe that smirk right off his face.
Yeah, PNC, obviously, the first thing that anybody new to the game would just instantly Dragonfire Potion here. The first thing that most top players look to do is how do we get control of the board again afterwards. So sometimes you look to try and sneak something onto the board before you do that, but there isn't anything. You also want to make sure that you can't just do something with Potion of Madness here, clear up so much of the board that you're actually not too bothered about using the potion.
Well, I mean, they can do that. You're completely right.
And so now it's like you've got a 1-1, and I've still got my Dragonfire Potion for emergencies if you Tarim a big board. And we're okay because we've got Tar Creeper.
Unfortunately, just leaving that 1-1-1 is more detrimental than you would have thought.
Right.
Because of Spike Ridge Steed. However, PNC would have calculated those risks. He knows that Spike Ridge Steed is a possibility. And I think he won't be too annoyed by it.
I was thinking the same, but he looks pretty annoyed. He might just be watching the people traipsing around his house.
I mean, I'm going to assume by this point it's not his house. I assume this is like a university or a college or a library. It does always intrigue me watching players.
I mean, the big sign on the wall behind him says this is certifies that this is PNC's house.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Pretty sure.
I'm the one with glasses and I can't even see that, Neil. So I'm impressed.
Yeah. I mean, this guy just keeps walking and taking all his stuff while he's playing Hearthstone. That's pretty worrying.
Sometimes you've got to set your priorities straight and you've got to win a game of global games. I mean, Argentina do need to win.
They really do.
To go through. The scary fact is if they were to lose 3-0, then that is worrying. I think they'd be out, but we'll get more into that a little bit later.
They'll definitely be in the scary zone.
Yeah, I think they'd drop below Taiwan, which would have them out. But when we get the table again afterwards, if we were to get into that situation, then we'll start calculating it. Looks like Lyra is going to have to be played here. It doesn't feel great with just one spell. Of course, you may find something else.
Mind Blast, Potion of Can't Use, and Curator here for Mitsuhide, top of the curve.
So you don't ever let Lyra live?
Don't let Lyra live?
No.
Sounds like some sort of...
That's like a tongue twister, isn't it?
It does, a little bit. It does. It is a little bit.
Say that 17 times. Don't actually, because that would be very...
You know me too well. It would have been a really boring cast.
It would have been like yesterday when I said the longest name in New Zealand. Did you catch that one?
I did, yeah. But I forgot it.
Yeah, I've forgotten it as well. We needn't go back to that ever again. Actually, we probably will, because New Zealand have moved on through and they look like...
Yeah, there's only so many facts about the world.
Exactly. I'm soon going to run out.
Thank goodness for that. Anyway... PNC still has that Dragonfire Potion he held on to. He's not going to use it now, but he will be reaping the benefits of that when this Murloc army reappears.
He could use it now and then use the Potion of Madness onto the Kodo that comes out.
I think he'll want to try... his absolute hardest to save Finger, because Finger will be something that repopulates yet another board for the Netherlands. And so that'd be one of the reasons they wanted to save it in the first place, with the risks associated with it. I want that to stop happening at some point. In a Fire, Divine Spirit, Holy Nova, they all look the same. Cards have come a long way since the basic set.
Yeah, they all glow.
Like, this is very well themed, but like cards are really instantly recognisable by their art now.
Now, Mitsuhide needs to find a way of getting through this very annoying Tar Creeper. I mean, Tar Creepers are annoying in general, but when it's got 14 HP, it's even worse.
Yeah, it's not really creeping anymore.
No.
It's more like sort of galloping at this point.
Yeah, it's stodgy, isn't it?
Stodgy.
Yeah, it's a stodgy Tar Creeper, just there in your way.
That just sounds like a really bad pudding. A stodgy Tar Creeper.
Oh, yeah. Not something that you'd want to order for your dessert. So what are the options for Mitsuhide then? He's got 7 damage already on board. Can use another Spike Ridge Steed if you really wanted to, but I can't see a decent way of clearing it apart from using Tarim, of course.
And what PNC's trying to do is to force what you're going to is, which is maybe they go wide and try and take this on.
Yeah.
If they go wide, they're going to get blown up by that Dragonfire Potion.
Yeah, he's saying, oh, you want a Tarim here, bro? Okay, well, I've got an answer for that.
Move quickly.
And it looks like it might have to be a Tarim here. Of course, you hero power first.
I actually think genuinely PNC is having a little bit of difficulty communicating here because of whatever's happening around him as well.
This does mean that Dragonfire Potion into Potion of Madness can clear this whole board now.
Right.
Because of that, the way that Mitsuhide was to trade there.
Argentina do know that Megasaur plus a Murloc are in hand still from that Curator. They'll be, again, scared that Murloc is Finger, the ninja.
I must consider.
Finger is a ninja. You are completely right.
How does that even work?
What, how is a Murloc a ninja?
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty loud. That's my concern. If there was a ninja Murloc behind me, I think I'd hear them Murlocking. Like Neil the Murloc that just sits on a desk.
Yeah.
He's a very quiet one.
He moves around all the time without anyone noticing. So maybe he's not, you know. Right. So Argentina, yeah.
I'm trying to work out how actually PNC wins this game, because he's going to be able to clear this board yet again, but once again, he's just going to be able to heal himself up or drop a Northshire Cleric.
He does still have the old combo in the deck, so at some point he just gets one big-ish minion to stick and a couple of Divine Shields and Divine Spirits, and
that's the thing, he has to get it to stick first, and the fact that he's not been able to put it on after a board clear is just allowing Mitsuhide to build up board after board after board. And now PNC's running out of board clears, and Mitsuhide can just pull the trigger now, put some Murlocs on the board, and then that Megasaur is going to be very, very scary.
Yeah, looking to me as well like they're going to be in a fantastic spot. They've used both Potions of Madness as well now, haven't they?
Yes.
So there's no silliness where you steal something and give it like triple.
Let me.
Which happens quite a lot with something like an Armor Smith, doesn't it? When you're an ally Armor Smith, when you're facing off against a warrior.
Just hit you for 28 with your own guy.
Yeah.
Gain 2 armor.
I think the most I've seen is hitting someone for 74 as of late.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty painful.
Did that happen to you? Or?
No, I think it was in one of Trollden's videos actually.
Right.
I wonder.
74.
It was something like that. It was something stupid.
Did he win?
Yes, of course he won.
Well, they might have had 75 armor.
The funny thing was they did have, I think they had something like 68 HP.
That's hilarious.
So using the Spike Ridge Steed just to try and keep this Tidecrawler alive, because that is going to be a threat. And of course, Neil, it's at 4.
Don't make me say it.
It's at 4 attack.
It is
you know what
the
that
magic
means.
number that priests can't deal with.
Unfortunately, it's going to be difficult to keep that Tidecrawler at 4 attack. Next turn, you're very much likely going to be buffing it up. However, you may be looking at finishing the game off.
Yeah, PNC could do with actually being able to injure something here, so he can start drawing cards from his Northshire Cleric to fill his hand up, give him some sort of chance. But he's just snookered at this point.
He is. And the worry for him now, if Mitsuhide plays War Leader into Megasaur and gets Wind Fury, I think he just wins.
Yeah, I think we might have to start retightening that Wind Fury soon. Just Wind Fury.
Just Wind Fury.
Because there's just nothing going on here for Argentina. So playing the Radiant Elemental is a way they can at least injure something, even if it's an opposing minion, for them to heal with a Cleric next turn. But yeah, PNC's pretty comfortable that he is donezo here, as far as I can see. Dunzo the Shark.
Dunzo. I think he was actually one off with the Wind Fury, but now the Rockball Hunter does mean that he can go for it. So Rockball Hunter into War Leader into Megastore and get Wind
Do they
Fury.
need to win next turn? Like, sometimes you just
No,
don't care. You just Rallying Blade, take everything out of the equation, and then win next turn.
Yeah. I mean, if you could just War Leader Megastore and look for Wind Fury, and then you've got Rallying Blade as the follow-up. Actually, no, with Rallying Blade, of course, that's lethal anyway, so I think you go for it. You War Leader, you Megastore, see what you get, and then you go from there.
Worth paying attention to how Mitsuhide's navigating this. He's just never put a board down, apart from that one time when he knew he could refill, that is worthy of any AoE. This is a 4-8 and a 1-1 doing this damage, and it's doing plenty, so he's keeping enough back for further reloads should there be an accident.
Yeah, I think he's, judging by this decision, he's playing it very safe, and he may even be reluctant to use a hero power just to keep this Tide Cooler at 4. Just because he's like, well, I can just put 5 more damage into him now, build a board of pointless minions that I've just gained from Stonehill Defender, and then next turn, I know I've got War Leader anyway for lethal, and the Megastore might be able to find it if he's got some sort of clear.
And rewarded because the death and the pain are both in Argentina's hand, and they just can't touch this annoying 4-8. And although people who watch a lot of Hearthstone won't realise that's a great play because they see this quite often, that is still good Hearthstone mechanics.
It is indeed. There is exactly 18 damage as well now available for Mitsuhide if PNC doesn't clear anything. So PNC will concede game number 1. Netherlands continue their domination in this group by going 1-0 up. And non-surprisingly, Mitsuhide getting a win as well, as we've said, of a very successful recent few months for him.
Just look at the doggo.
There's a big picture of a doggo in the background.
But yeah, he has just done pretty much everything you want to do in the last couple of months, apart from maybe a big HCT appearance. And of course, he's getting it done here. And able to hold his own with these massive names from the Netherlands. It's so hard when you've got someone like Ties in your team to like, oh, I'm one of the team as well. It's a bit like me when I'm with you and Dan. I'm like, well, I'm here too, guys.
Hey, don't be so. You got me a fidget spinner for my birthday. You're my favourite right now.
Oh.
Although I did get a birthday cake as well. From
The birthday cake from production was
That's
amazing.
really nice. Let's have a look at seeing what the game is going to be following up. It's Snail versus Tyler, and it's going to be Druid versus Rogue. So time now for another fact for you then,
Okay.
Neo, and actually probably a relevant one, as it is my birthday. In Argentina, instead of like birthday spanks or birthday beats, whatever you do, Argentinians actually pull the earlobes of the boy or girl on their birthday. So
And you're looking correctly terrified right now.
there we go. I'm glad that you chose to go for the earlobes rather than the other options that were available. On the other side for Netherlands, do you remember when, I think it was last week, I brought up a fact about the Netherlands and how they invented the orange carrot?
You did, yes.
I did, yeah. So carrots used to be purple, they used to be black, they used to be blue. And then the Netherlands, in honour of the House of Orange, this is not relevant to
Nothing
player
to do with Hearthstone, okay.
they actually made carrots orange, and that's why their national colour is orange.
Ah, so there's all this linking on, because they usually, most of their squads, national squads for other events, play in orange as well.
They do, yeah. It's their national colour. So maybe we can see orange join the Netherlands team. No, it doesn't work like that, does it?
No, that's not the kind of alliance he's looking for.
And what about if you've got, like, orange hair? Can you join?
I know, you can't join anything if you've got orange hair, I'm afraid.
That's a shame. So
You can join George C's fan club.
I'm already in that one. I am #1 George C fan. Druid versus Rogue is the next game. Neil, just looking at the stats for HCT and what we're seeing being brought, Druid, Jade and Token is pretty much 50-50.
Right.
But we are seeing 100% Quest Rogue being brought to HCT. Miracle has just fallen out of favour completely. And Quest Rogue is, of course, going to be nerfed soon.
Right.
And we discussed this yesterday, and there are mixed opinions about the nerf. There are people that are very happy, there are people that are very sad, but ultimately there is discussion. I think that's a good thing.
I do think what you say there, I think there's people who are very happy and people who are a little bit cautious. I don't think there's anyone very sad. There are people who would rather it wasn't, but I think that the very happies probably outbalance the ones who aren't sure.
Yes, they're somewhat unsure. As you can see, the players there, Snail
Superman
and
versus Snail.
I love that we've seen a few of the players dress slightly differently. We saw a bathrobe yesterday. We're now seeing what are they called? Slankets. A slanket from Tyler.
Slanket?
It's like a blanket, but it's got sleeves, so it's called a slanket. It was very 2015, I think, if I remember my memes correctly.
A good year for slankets.
It was, and now you can get slankets. You can be Superman, you can be Batman. Tyler's going to be. Was it Superman?
I think he was
slanket?
Superman, but
Quite appropriate for Tyler. He is pretty much a Superman, especially when it comes to ladder. I mean, he is known as the ladder grinder.
yeah. Although last month he's a little bit wobbly now on that last call race. I think he may have been overtaken because he didn't get his top 200 finish. I don't think he definitely didn't get like a good finish.
I remember seeing something on social media where he was saying, "I don't know if I can now qualify, so I might not be playing as hard."
He's got one more month. I think you're right. That's
Yeah.
what he was saying. But I think what will happen is he'll think about it and go, "I've given 6 months to this, or 5 months, whatever, to this. I might as well give it one more, even though it's a long shot, because going for that last call spot is a long old grind. The other people might fail yet. You know, you may overtake them again."
Exactly. You've got to do what you can. And speaking of speaking of got to do what you
Speaking
can,
of what?
let's move on into the second game. And Tyler is going to be playing what looks like. Wait, this is confusing.
I'm so confused. Which is the
Is this a
rogue?
water rogue from Tyler here with Murlocs involved? And then the aggro token druid from Argentina as well.
Aggro token druid versus.
So of course Argentina are actually 1-0 down. Netherlands did win the first game. Just a correction for the graphics there. And
Right.
yeah, Netherlands. I mean, you were confused because you saw Murlocs, Neil.
I'm like, okay, so where is the quest?
Nope. Well, we said there is no quest rogue. There is only quest rogue being brought to HET, but Tyler and Netherlands, they're going to be trying their hand in something a little bit different. Water Rogue was a very popular, aggressive variant of Rogue a couple of months ago, or
Right.
a few months ago before Unguru came out, of course.
I actually mentioned it earlier as well in the other cast. Like, didn't expect to ever see it again. But here it is. Wisps of the old gods. Who's going to go widest on this board?
Yeah, that could be a little bit interesting later. And typically the token druid does run something like a hungry crab. It's not
Yeah.
uncommon for that, so maybe that could come in handy a little bit later.
This is a slightly slower version with Druid of the Claws as well of this token druid, so maybe Tyler can get into this one. Backstab, he'll really want to save that for the SI7 agent, but he'll also just not want to lose this board immediately. But I think we will just see a hero power here, get rid of one of these pesky elementals. I quite like the flame element. I think it's much cuter than the firefly. And yeah, the next turn he's going to have backstab into SI7.
Which is always nice as the rogue to get that combo off, of course. I mean,
Well-
some people might have been tempted to backstab immediately, but you're completely right. Just saving it, you can get so much value.
Cold Blood, also a card that if this 1/1 doesn't get dealt with, then Snail may end up just losing a big minion to. But Snail's not likely to deal with this because all his job, he is probably the aggressor. Because he's playing the most aggressive deck in the game.
Patches in the hand for Snail. Actually, at this point, isn't such a bad thing because you can actually patches plus Mark of the Lotus if you wanted to. May have to. I mean, I guess the alternative is you just hero power down this 1/1.
You've got to also decide how you want to use this Innovate. The earlier you use it, the more effect it has, but also the earlier you use it, the more you can't use it with Living Mana later. And Savage Raw Innovate after a Living Mana is just a game-winning condition for the game. Game-winning condition for the game?
Game-winning condition for the game. Neil, they're in the bond with words.
Hey, don't you mock my words.
So now this just works perfectly for Tyler.
Right.
Backstab onto patches and then use the SI7 agent onto the elemental, of course, and then you regain that board. And what's the perfect thing to do against a token druid? Have board control.
Yeah, they can't use all of their buffs if you've killed all of their minions. It's fairly straightforward. And having the SI7 agent will allow them to just tidy up the other parts of the board.
This guy's toast.
And there we go, 3-3 on the board. That is not going anywhere anytime soon. And Argentina are out of stuff. Obviously got to play this Blood Cell Corsair, but it's just not going to do a whole bunch.
The only fear against, I say the only fear, there are a lot of fears when you're playing against Token Druid. Innovate Fledgling being one of the main concerns you have.
Right.
However, Living Mana is always a way that Token Druid can get back into a game. And how does a rogue get rid of that? I mean, you need, what, Thalnos into Fan of Knives or double Fan of Knives to be able to deal with all those pesky tutus?
Or you just kill them. I mean, that is another option. Wisp of the Old Gods is a thing. But yeah, you're right. If it did happen to just appear, the Living Mana, it may just be over, especially now the backstab's gone. I had to laugh last night. We're with Falcone. And he was saying, oh, I never get Innovate Fledgling. And so we talked him into playing a game of Druid. And he got Innovate Fledgling, and his opponent went Innovate Fledgling into Coin Fledgling. And it was like, yeah.
I think he still won that game, though.
Shush, don't spoil the ending. Yeah, he did still win. But just for a moment there, it was all very amusing. All right, Tyler doing the board keeping thing. Obviously, what you said will be on his mind, that we can't do a Living Mana. And with that in mind, he will try and go as wide as possible so he can kill as many Living Mana treants as he can if that happens. 5 of them is not going to be too problematic if they happen, as long as he's got enough stuff on the board. He will win any longer game if it goes that long. He could struggle as well. A lot of people don't play Sap in some decks, or I suspect this one does, with a Bittertide Hydra.
Yeah, Bittertide Hydra can be a little bit big.
And that's why they're keeping his Cold Blood, I should think. We might see it played soon, but I don't think so. I think we'll see it kept until a big minion he's dealing. Again, just not letting them keep anything. No desire to hit Snail in the face.
The interesting point is going to be that turn 7 when Wisp of the Old Gods is a possibility to buff up all the minions for the Netherlands. And as you said, who's the token-based deck now?
So it's going to be quite amusing. For those of you who like irony.
A lot of people do.
Vile Spine Slayer. What's that got to do with irony? Nothing.
Not really.
It kills Bittertide Hydras when you've got
It does?
an activator in Cold Blood, though, and an activator from Zawel, Poison Mind. This is a card that I think is fantastic in general.
So, we are seeing the Netherlands have a little bit of fun with this deck choice.
Sure.
Let's be real. They are already through.
Yeah.
So they are in the situation where they can experiment a little bit. And people might be thinking, oh, hey, they shouldn't be doing that. Well, why not? Play something that's a little bit fun. They're still winning.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
important
So
fact.
Hungary as well,
Exactly.
from sort of the opposite end where they couldn't qualify.
Sometimes playing something that's a little bit off meta, a little bit surprising, can really work.
As long as you do it in the right way, you have to work out what you're targeting, you have to work out how to play the deck, so you still have to put the time in. And one thing that Tyler does in this game is put the time into Hearthstone. Now he can use a Cold Blood because he actually has the activator for the Vile Spine, and they can deal with a Living Mana. So why not now just try and kill their opponent? And if your opponent plays Living Mana, you just take a view of clearing up bits.
And it's not like these decks that we're seeing today aren't decks that we're used to seeing. They're decks that have been popularized. They have been taken to high ranks. They have been kind of put across social media.
Right.
So we know what the decks are, and we will see elements of opposition kind of knowing what they're going up against. But the problem is, if you've mulliganed early on for what you expect the current meta deck to be, it gets very difficult to try and claw your way back into a game that you really weren't expecting to be playing against.
There's a whole bunch of stuff. You're absolutely right on that spot, though. Because you haven't play tested it, you don't know what the mulligans are as well as other players do. Alright, so Tyler's got a decision to make now. What do I lose to? Because a lot of this stuff can just go to face. You don't want to give the Argentinians their mana back if you don't think you're going to die. But you're well aware that left-hand card has been in hand all game, so it's probably Savage Roar. And with that in mind, you've got to be very careful here if you're the Netherlands.
Yeah, if it is a Savage Roar, then you could think about not trading, because you say, well, how are they going to play the Savage Roar? But then, of course, we can see there is an Innovate.
And they didn't play anything last turn of note either, so...
I mean, of course, Netherlands aren't that far off lethal themselves.
Right.
If that was a different Toxin, if that was the Toxin that gave plus attack, they could be in a completely different position looking for lethal here. However, it does look like they are just going to ignore and send all of this damage face. I'm not entirely surprised either.
Yeah, I think they'll use the SI7 just to get rid of one of these, just so they're not dead to various combinations of cards, or maybe they don't want to actually.
No, I think you send everything
Goes face. Yeah,
you don't want to give them any mana back.
Yeah, because then there's combinations of Marco Lotuses that can kill you.
So it does mean that there's 22 damage available for Argentina. with Innovate into Savage Roar.
Yeah, this is why you don't give them any mana back, because things just could have got really messy.
Could have got very messy. It could have been, what, Power of the Wild into Savage Roar if they'd... I think they still would have been alright either way. But
Savage of the Wild.
Now,
Easiak's favourite card.
Snail has to see how he can survive, and there is just no way to actually survive here. It's going to have to be a concede.
Snail has just been outpaced by Tyler in this one.
Yeah, a very aggressive rogue, and actually, aggro rogue was one of the best ways early on throughout several metas to deal with other token-based decks. We also saw aggro rogue being a good way to deal with Pirate Warrior, for example, just outpacing them and winning the race. As Netherlands are now going to go 2-0 up, a little kappa clap there from Tyler himself. Spam some of those in the chat for us. And the worry now for Argentina...
Cheap pop, yeah.
Right, let me go through the table here, because they're currently at +1.
Sure, I can do that.
Yeah?
Put you through the table.
Well, no, not literally. Like, we're not...
I thought we could do some wrestling moves.
No,
Okay.
not on my birthday. Maybe another day. So Argentina were +1 with their game difference at 1-1.
Okay.
So if they lose this game, they're 1-2, and they're currently their game difference would be -1 at the moment.
Right.
If they lose 3-0, their game difference would be -2, which will put them lower than Taiwan. Taiwan are currently the highest third-place finisher.
Okay.
So that means they would be out, because we already have Singapore at -2. So those are our two teams going out. So Argentina need to win one game here in this series to have any chance of going through.
Is that to have any chance, or other teams could even sink below them?
Well, this is the thing. Other teams could sink below them, potentially.
But they'll be occupying that dangerous
They'll
spot.
be in the danger zone. Think of it like a relegation zone,
Yeah.
and they're currently sat in there. Someone else, they'd have to hope it's out
Somebody
of their
else gets
Yeah.
doofused later in the day.
Someone else falls lower than them, but it's still in their hands at the moment. They could still win this series, and we go into the next game. Now, Gaiden versus Theo, Mage versus Mage, and actually this is turning into my favourite matchup. Mage
Really?
versus Mage. It really is, yeah, because there's so much unpredictability in Mage at the moment. It's so hard to read your opponent that we just get exciting games.
Yeah, I mean, we can, especially when, I think to cast, when we can see the things they're playing around. They're playing around everything. We can see which ones they should play around. It's like, he's going to get it wrong.
They're also some of the most difficult games to cast because they are unpredictable because of all the random elements and stuff, but that doesn't mean they're not fun to cast.
Right.
So it's certainly my favourite matchup to cast personally for myself.
The Philippines did have Eater of Secrets in their deck yesterday. They were trying to draw, by the way. They never got there. They were trying to draw that to save their game yesterday in the Mage versus Mage.
Was the Mage versus Mage, or was that the Mage versus Rogue?
They needed the Eater.
Yeah, was that it with their Rogue, though, when they were trying to bounce back
sorry,
and
yeah,
forth?
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though. I'm glad that I was on the ball.
Yeah, I'm glad you caught that, otherwise I was going to look really silly.
But yeah, with their Rogue, they were bouncing back with Novice Engineer, looking for the Eater of Secrets. I guess it's more fact time. Do you want another fact?
Sure, I always want more facts.
So on average, Dutch people are the tallest people in the world.
On average.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Is that like from when they're born to like...
I'm going to guess at their maximum height. Like, just if you were to measure everyone in the Netherlands
how tall are
right
they?
now. Yeah, see, these are the questions you throw at me. I think they're, on average, about 180 centimetres is what I read. However, I'm not sure how tall that is.
How tall is that in real units?
Yeah,
okay.
I guess like on average like 6'2" or
cases is over. Like
Argentina. Well, you know, I was talking about Messi.
Yeah.
And how he's like
you can't call your.
Yeah.
You have to move.
Maradona, the famous footballer, has his own religion in Argentina.
That's handy.
He's worshipped as a god.
Wow.
Yeah. Very handy indeed. I'm glad you got there.
We're not bitter.
No, we are definitely not a bitter title.
It's a very recent soccer match, and none of us ever think about it.
Ever. So
second goal was good, though.
It was good. Yeah, completely
fair.
right.
Anyway.
But Hearthstone's a thing without goals, except the goal actually here for Argentina is just to get a win. They need to put this in their own hands and try and better Taiwan's game difference, or turn this series around. Try and win it for themselves. Get to that 2-1 and progress.
Win it for Maradona.
Do it for the god.
That's amazing. The old god.
The old god himself, Diego Maradona.
Wow. I'm just done by the fact he's got his own religion.
Yeah, he does, yeah. Fun fact.
Okay. Theo, by the way, was the only person from the Dutch team, as far as I could tell, who filled in the feedback form. And do you know what he likes to do? Where his favourite place to go is?
Where's his favourite place to
He
go?
left it blank.
Oh.
So the Dutch people just all stay at home and play Hearthstone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not entirely surprised. Look at how dominant they've been throughout the global games and
Yeah, it
just
works for
Hearthstone
them.
in general.
Right. Seems to be a good plan. We interviewed him last week. It was interesting to hear his thoughts on the matter. Like, he does stream himself and he doesn't feel at all overawed by the company he's keeping here. Very level-headed guy. It was really fun to talk to. Here, though, mirror match time. You've got to decide, like you said, loads of things to play around. And, I mean, the first thing is identifying what your opponent's trying to do.
Well, first thing is trying to identify what on earth your opponent's playing. What kind of mage is it?
Right.
Is it Burn Mage? Is it Secret Mage? Is it Freeze Mage? It's hard to tell.
And how much of each?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We've found that people are now combining, and we're getting hybrids from the HCT lists. People are putting Cabal Crystal Runners in Burn Mage. People are putting Medivh in Freeze Mages. It's all over the shop right now, Neil.
I am surprised it took so long for the Crystal Runner to become a thing. I remember when I first sort of spoke to Sottle about Secret Mage, he's like, well, obviously Crystal Runner's actually just a good card.
Yep.
It's just a backup. Well, we have the backup ready in place in nearly every mage deck. Just turns out that a 0-mana 5/5 is actually quite good.
It's a very good card. Now for Theo here, tempting to play Doomsayer, I think, but you are worried about a Frostbolt coming out and just dealing with your Doomsayer and a bigger board coming through.
Yeah, two questions here, really. First of all, playing Ice Block as early as you can is often good. It means that your valets are triggered for the whole game, so everything's good there. Secondly, you've got to work out when this Doomsayer might actually do something, and now doesn't seem the worst time for that. But Frostnova, Doomsayer onto a bigger board. Like, the thing is, Doomsayer can just be Fireball pinged.
Yeah. I mean, Fireball ping would be an interesting. But I think Ice Block is temptation here because you've got the follow-up of Medivh's Valet next turn.
And then maybe Doomsayer alongside it to keep the tempo, depending what you draw. Because playing Acolyte of Pain on turn 5 and then pinging it yourself is a surprisingly big problem for a 1/2 that's going to be hanging around.
And board control and board presence is so important in this matchup as well. Just being able to chip away that little bit with a couple of minions, those 2/3s that you often have on the board, just trying to send that extra bit of damage, that when you do draw that burn, you can actually finish your opponent off quicker. But the key factor often in these mirrors is Eater of Secrets.
It is. I mean, it sounds like a bit of a meme of a card, but it is. If whoever's playing it, it's usually both these days. But whoever's playing it, whoever draws it first, tends to be the one who wins. Otherwise, you have to ice block them. You have to be the first person to proc a block, and you have to be the one with the most blocks in your hand. And that can come down to glyphs.
It can come down to glyphs. It also, the Eater of Secrets can be used in two different ways, of course. You can use it when you've got lethal, just to eliminate those secrets, or you can use it with a little bit of tempo early on to try and get ahead in that ice block race.
Right.
However, your only fear is, does it matter if I get rid of theirs? If they then have a lethal opportunity and use their Eater of Secrets, then my second ice block is irrelevant anyway. So you do really have to assess the situation and judge whether the tempo play is going to allow you to get enough damage to finish them off quicker than them finishing you.
It also means that you sometimes don't want to put too many secrets down at the same time because your opponent just eats them all up.
Gobbles them up.
Eats a gobbler of secrets. Okay, the Frostnova happens. And it happens before Fireball Ping can take place. That's good timing there from the Netherlands, oddly enough.
Yeah, well planned, well assessed. Medivh's Valet is not going to make a difference. Both Alexstrasza's now in hand as well. Alexstrasza, another of the key cards in this matchup.
And as you were saying yesterday, sometimes it's for defensive purposes because you're fine just hammering away at each other anyway.
Yeah, because if you're at 15 and they're like, oh, okay, well, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop their block here, and you put yourself back up to 15, and they're like, oh, we've just used all our burn that we needed to finish this game off, and now there's a big old 8/8 staring in our...
And we've got a 2/4 in our hand that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
See why you like this match. I get it. We haven't discussed what they're playing yet. It looks like Theo's playing pretty much straight up freeze. Don't think we've seen anything weird in there yet. There might be a Medivh circling somewhere.
You are on fire.
And now Gaiden is definitely playing some sort of hybrid / Gunther / something.
But the thing is, even we've seen Freeze Mage lists that are running Firelance Portal in
Like
as well.
Mana Worm, yeah.
The Doomsayer is usually somewhat of a tell. Doomsayer, Frostnova being a combo that we're seeing in Freeze Mage.
And again, you're still using the word usually.
Yeah, sometimes we're seeing that in the Burn Mage as well, and this is what I was talking about. This is why I love this matchup, because it is just so difficult to assess your opponent.
It's weird because about a month ago, Paladin was the class where we're saying, well, it can be anything. But actually, Paladin's kind of settled.
It's getting there.
It's got like 2 or 3 main builds now, as well as UK Paladin, of course.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. As soon as you think it's settled, someone comes along and puts a couple of cards in that are different, and suddenly everyone starts playing it, and the meta changes. It shifts.
But Mage is now in the Paladin spot. It's like, just here's 45 Mage cards, pick any 30 you like, as long as 2 of them are Ice Block, and off you go.
I'm just glad Reno Jackson doesn't exist anymore, because then
Me too.
Mage would be scary. I mean, Mage was scary. Reno Mage is terrifying in Wild.
You're the second person today to mention that card.
What, Reno Jackson? Sorry. Oh yeah, Dan said a bit about Reno Lock, didn't he?
Stop it! No, Reno Jackson served a very important purpose, which was leaving.
Yeah, it
He
was
served that purpose.
haunting everyone's dreams.
So, I mean, when Reno came to play, I'm known for not being a big fan of the card in the later stages, but when it came into play, the meta was massively aggressive and needed tidying up, and Reno really did that. That was the first attempt to really stop those aggro metas, and it did a decent job of it. So, did his job, but I'm glad his job is done.
Job is finished, and now we've sent him back to the Wild.
He's out exploring somewhere. I'm sure he'll be back one day. I'm absolutely sure he'll be back.
He's out with Sir Finley somewhere as well.
Elise is already back.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll see the others again.
Yeah, I reckon so. So now back into this. Now Gaiden thinking about Firelands portaling.
So something you've got to consider this early when you have Alex Strauss in your hand is, do I really care about doing face damage?
Correct, yeah.
Do I just want to start firing stuff at my opponent's minions and then just chill out and then Alex Strauss on turn 9? Or do I actually want to use Alex Strauss just as a minion? Do I want to just win without it? Is it too slow to wait? And Argentina have decided that actually waiting for the Alex Strauss win is just too slow here.
So a few people, well, I say a few people, a few countries are going to be watching this game very closely. Specifically, South Korea, of course, going to be watching this very closely, because if Argentina lose, it means South Korea are definitely through with Netherlands anyway. They are definitely through with 2 wins anyway, but
game difference.
They'll of course be keeping an eye on it, because it would be nice to qualify as the top 2 rather than the third place finisher. Of course, Taiwan are going to be keeping a very close eye on this one. If Argentina were to lose 3-0, that means Taiwan are definitely through, with a -1 difference, as they would be higher than both Singapore and Netherlands in that situation. And of course, 2 do go out and 4 go through.
Italy and Bulgaria playing each other later, I believe. They're both on 1 and 1, so one of those teams is going to be 1 and 2. They would rather have a chance at the third place spot if they do lose that one.
Yeah, of course, if Argentina win this series and end up 2 and 1, then that makes it more difficult for those 1 and 2s potentially to get.
Yeah, the game difference is going to be massive for those teams on 1, as it should be. If you only won 1 of your 3 games, you better have some game difference to make up for it.
You need to earn your spot in that last 16.
I don't just give them to any old UK-based team.
So now we're starting to see that removal come through. Like you mentioned, you don't want to use your removal necessarily to go face. Instead, you're worried about the chip damage, and you just want to keep a little bit of control here. Harrison just there.
Yeah.
So I remember last season, actually, and I'm going to bring up George C again, just because
we
George
bring
C,
him up a lot because
well, I mean, he is a very popular freeze mage
he's not been
player.
brought up very well.
He, wow, he put Harrison Jones and he put Eater of Secrets in his deck, and he got a lot of grief for it. However, it was very successful on ladder, and a lot of people have replicated that. And I mean, George C, I respect the guy as one of the best freeze players around. Of course,
even Laughing
as well.
Before,
yeah.
I mean, Laughing has said it about George C, that he thinks George C's very, very good at freeze mage. And Laughing's one of the very few people in the world who can judge who's good at freeze mage. And he usually does judge. He usually says they're terrible, whoever it is. But George C is somebody that he respects strongly, as do we.
So are you tempted with Doomsday here just to set up for your next turn of Alex Straza?
Yeah, and even if your opponent, just deals with your opponent's Alex Straza turn, even though they're not going to do any damage to you with it, it's an 8-8. Mages don't deal with 8-8s at all well, so by dealing with the Doomsayer seems good.
And of course, going back to Harrison Jones, it can be very relevant with Medivh being very popular in Discover Mage, even popping up in a couple of Freeze Mage decks as well. But there is enough damage now for Gaiden across a couple of turns to actually kill off Theo twice.
Yeah, and he also has an ice block. If Theo even starts getting to the point where he can kill Gaiden, the ice block's going to come into play, and Netherlands still haven't found their second block. Obviously, the ice barrier at this point will never be triggered.
Yep.
Even if Argentina stick a minion, unless it's like Alex Strauss that they manage to stick, it won't attack face because they'll just rely on their burn.
So if they want to, now Gaiden here could go for Fireball and Frostbolt and a ping and just put as much damage as possible into Theo, and then say, I've got a draw for other burn, but I could also use Pyroblast to just pop the block if I wanted to. It feels a bit sticky, but at the same time, you want to get ahead of that ice block race, as I just said. You'd ideally want something else in hand that could then clear up again to pop the block, but sometimes you just have to take that risk of, I'm going to draw more burn. This is how much burn I've got left in my deck. What are the odds of me drawing more?
Trusting your deck is something I talk about quite a lot on these casts, but I think it's the most overlooked thing by newer players. You just got to trust the cards that you put in there. A 30-card deck is not a huge deck of cards. You are going to draw the cards regularly that you need.
And I like keeping back the Frostbolt there from Nelgaiden because he's saying it's turn 9, Alex Straza may well come out here.
Right.
I need an answer for that 8 damage straight away, and that Frostbolt can do that.
Yeah, very good spot. Because you know full well that you're going to have to proc this ice block multiple times, so you don't really want to Pyroblast him in the face and just get an Alex Straza hit you back.
Yeah, of course, Alex Straza, the optimal play, and there was still some thought process there from the Netherlands side. They were having some discussion, is there anything else we want to go for? Sometimes just throwing a minion straight out onto the board is a bad choice because you want to make your opponent think you've got a little bit more to work with.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just nodding.
Yeah, great. I like you nodding. There's Pyrus there as well.
What to do?
So how do you want to go about finishing this off? If you spend the time doing the Frostbolt onto the Alex and then sort of killing it next turn, you're really missing an opportunity to kill your opponent.
You are, and as much as you're tempted to go for Frostbolt onto Alex and play maybe something like Harrison that can immediately challenge the Alex Straza, you might want to save that Harrison in case you are worried about Medivh. But from what Argentina have gathered, they'll be thinking this is Freeze Mage. We don't think there is going to be a Medivh, but it's so hard to make those predictions at the moment.
And if you let those Alex live, you are dead to Alex, Frostbolt, Ping, Eater of Secrets. Not in that order, but in some order. And that's enough mana to actually do it. So you've got to stop the Alex. You don't want to.
That belongs in a museum.
This challenges the Alex next turn. Good use of Harrison, of course. And Pyros. They may never attack with that, but at least it's a way of trading into other minions, and they might want to kill it off and get into a 6-6 or a 10-10.
Yeah, Theo can just delay this with Frost Nova, of course, or Blizzard if he wants, so probably going to start the turn off with an Arcane Intellect to search for a little bit more.
These matchups are weird. Like, it just looked like Argentina was such a fantastic spot. They had all the tools needed to proc the block once, but just the way the orderings worked out has kind of put them in a bit of a sticky situation.
So I really like Frost Nova into one of the Fireballs now, and then the follow-up next turn is you have a Fireball and Frostbolt to be able to pop the block potentially first, depending on how much damage is coming out from your opponent.
You also don't want to corner Argentina here, because if you do, they might just try and kill you twice.
Yeah.
They're playing around the second ice block at the moment. You don't want to force them to go, oh no, we know you've got the second ice block, but I've got to shoot this at your face. And oh, you haven't got it.
You haven't got it, yeah.
So you've got to do enough to scare the heck out of Argentina to be able to beat them without actually making them go all in to try and beat you, because they will.
And of course, Argentina do have their second block, and sometimes in Discover Mage, we've seen Ice Block just one copy run. I think it was yesterday we were in a situation where we saw a game of Mage versus Mage. The Discover Mage only had one, and the Freeze Mage had two. But the Freeze Mage actually burnt one of their ice blocks because of a counter spell, and it was a crazy, crazy game. In this instance, though, now Gaiden does have 2 to work with, but Theo's still looking to draw that second of his.
Yeah, I think polymorph into Pyros is interesting here, because that Pyros will be an ongoing threat. You don't mind the ice barrier going off. First of all, it only puts your opponent to the 10, and secondly, you're going to get more than one slap out of the Pyros a lot of the time.
Argentina are in a decent spot, not only because of the ice block, but they also have that option of a defensive Alex Straza as well here.
Right.
Time runs out on me.
However, that being said, Netherlands' hand, there's a lot of damage in there if you count Antonidas as well. Has either player got a glyph yet?
I'm not sure. Oh, I don't know if we've seen any glyphs.
Definitely
we've seen one glyph from the Netherlands. I think they picked up a polymorph early on.
Right.
So a polymorph played. Not sure we've seen anything from Nelgaiden.
Yeah. And Blizzard.
The Archmage is, of course, quite big here. I think you're completely right, because it's all well and good saying, well, now Gaiden has a second Ice Block, and then after that damage has been procced again,
Right.
you can Alexstrasza back up. But there is a potential for a lot more damage to be had from big old Tony himself here.
Tony. There's always that temptation. You can proc this block at 1 so nicely here, but by 1, I think I mean slightly more than 1, but you know.
Do you mean 2?
I do.
Yeah, I thought you might mean 2.
Same sort of thing, though.
It looks like that is the game plan for Theo. Proc it at 2 by running the sheep in first, or not.
Keeping the sheep
I
there.
I guess if it was an ice barrier, then you don't want to take that risk.
Oh,
right?
sure, yeah, because you haven't actually tested
Yeah,
it.
you're not
so
tested.
Good point.
Yeah, so they're saying, well, we could run him pop him at 2, but actually we'd rather just pop him at 3 rather than not pop him at all.
Right. Okay, Archaeologist. Oh, this is so awkward, though. When you said you want to make sure that you Alexstrasza for the maximum to your own face.
I'm thinking Alexstrasza is the turn here. Unfortunately, there's no way to pop and play your own ice block.
Right.
That's the only trouble. So I think defensive Alexstrasza and just hope that they can't put 15 damage is absolutely fine.
Yep.
And Theo at the moment doesn't have that damage.
6 to face or kill the sheep. It's 14 different from 15. It probably is not. He doesn't have the damage, but he's not going to take any damage for a while either because of the blizzards. Or more to the point, Antonida's Frost Nova.
I think you kill off the sheep because you know that's an ice barrier and you're actually giving them 2 more armor by doing
You are, but if you attack with it twice,
Yeah, but will you get the chance to?
you might well not.
You know blizzards, you know frost novas are a thing. Arcane Intellect showing up right on time to look for a little bit more draw. Do you play the Archmage first?
The only problem with this Archmage is they might want more than 1 fireball from it. But if you play Archmage and you play Frost Nova,
Yeah, I like that.
they can't just Pyroblast you in the face. Because then you just double fireball and they don't know you haven't got the other Frostbolt or another Valet. A Valet.
I like Valet.
Valet?
Who says Valet?
Not anyone that I know.
Oh, okay, great. It sounds like something I would say. I
It
usually
does.
get a lot of things wrong.
Thorician.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Thorician. Yeah, and here we go. Archmage going to generate not only a fireball, but a monster threat. And going to put now Gaiden on the spot. Meteor Ice
Okay,
Block.
Yeah, Meteor Ice Block just seems really strong here. You're like, well, they gained 1 more fireball, so what? We can now block right back up, and then we're in the driving seat once again.
Yeah, not taking any of the 5 damage to the face. You know they've only got 1 fireball because there's been no glyphs that have been unresolved. No surprise glyphs, no glyphs or buts. And you should be safe. It's easy for us to say though because we can see that they are. You're playing around only 9 health. You're scared that Eater of Secrets into something kills you later? That they can set it up and they play their own second block? Here's a glyph.
Yeah, this glyph could help.
So you
I mean,
probably intellect first? Ah, yeah, you've got a blizzard though.
yeah, I think you have to blizzard, so you're probably going to glyph here rather than intellect.
You could intellect. Depends how much you need the ping as well.
The saving grace for Theo and Netherlands here is that they have got a little bit of stall, and the only way at the moment for Argentina to pop is with a Pyroblast, and then they're getting popped at 8. And there are no other ways for Argentina at the moment to push any damage apart from what's on board, which can be delayed.
So the advantage of intellect over glyph is you get nearer to your Eater of Secrets.
If there is one.
And you get more information about what you need to take from your glyph.
Yep.
The advantage of glyphing is, first of all, it's just a better card you're likely to get, and secondly, you get an extra ping to the face, which could be relevant.
Yeah,
Well, it's unlikely to be, but 2 fireballs and 2 more pings could be relevant. Plus, you get some information by glyphing first in some ways, because you might get a 1 mana block, which allows you to do so many more stuffs.
So I'd imagine that there is a Pyroblast still in the deck for Netherlands as well.
Yep.
And it does mean, and of course, Primordial Glyph can potentially give you a Pyroblast.
And this is actually what they've done. They set themselves up so they've got a chance for that Pyroblast.
Yeah, a chance
And for it to be relevant.
Yeah. So Argentina now, if they want to, they can pop it. Do you want to pop at 8 when you don't have a way to actually kill your opponent though, and that'll be your first ice block you've popped?
I mean, in some ways, no. But just looking at what else their other options are, it's like, they might as well.
And it depends how much they've been tracking from their opponent. You'd expect a lot when there are 4 players discussing, of course. It is the global games, it is a country team event. They can all talk with their teammates. And you will usually designate one person to be specifically tracking cards.
Yeah.
I would have thought.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of the teams have said they do that.
With the teams, yeah. People get designated roles, they get assigned roles.
And they have said that 4 people talking is often too many when you're all powerful anyway. So one guy's on mistake duty and one guy's on tracking duty. The other 2 sort of talk about the game. And if any of the other 2 interject, then they've usually got an important thing to say. A bit like me when I interject when you're talking.
Oh, right on time. There's that ice block. But how do you play this turn? Because you want to freeze the board because you don't want to allow an easy pop.
Right.
But then you're just playing ice block and then the board is frozen and then next turn you're in the same situation. So how comfortable are you at 8 health? You could go for Blizzard into Primordial Glyph into Ping.
This is where having the deck list would help, because
Yes,
if you can glyph into something relevant and then just know that they're trying to draw into Eater, that's a big difference to if they haven't got Eater in their deck, where they're trying to win a totally different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder.
Of course, they are closed deck lists. Both teams don't have the decks for their opponents, so as casters, we also don't have the deck lists. Very different to an open event,
Time runs out on me.
where
The deck lists are open.
are given the deck lists. Flame Geyser is an extra 2 damage. Geyser,
It is. It's a relevant number as well. But the only way Frostbolt, the only way Fireball is going to happen in this game is if it is from the second glyph, which we've seen, so it's not going to happen.
yeah, the Cone of Cold is the best pick, of course, because it can freeze the board as well as being able to draw more. And if there is an Eater of Secrets in either deck, then we're getting very unfortunate for how far into the deck we're getting. So I'm starting to think there may not be. However, you never know.
Yeah. If we knew exactly every card that had gone, we could work out what was likely missing, whether it be an Eater or not. We've seen a lot of the burn from both sides. We still haven't seen a Pyroblast from Theo, as you said.
Yeah, no Pyroblast. We've seen both Fireballs. We've seen now both Frostbolts as well from Theo.
Have we seen like a Volcanic Potion from Theo? I know you don't usually play it in freeze, but it has been known. It's a very traditional list here, actually, from the Netherlands.
And I like that they've been able to pick up this Cone of Cold, because it allows them to delay a little bit more with their Blizzard.
I like the way that both these sides just run out of stuff.
Yeah, which is weird, right?
Like, they're just completely...
Runs out on me.
Normally somebody's won by now.
The pops have been awkward.
Counterspell, Shatter, or Arcane Missiles are the choices, by the way. That's Counterspell, Shatter, and Arcane Missiles. There you go.
Double Counterspell is available, which could be massive here for Argentina.
You know what would be massive here? Starts with E and ends in 2 of Secrets.
Eater of Secrets would be big, however, it's all well and good picking up the Eater of Secrets if you're the Netherlands, but you haven't got a spell that can actually deal enough damage, and even if you did, that Pyroblast is just going to end up getting gobbled up by the counterspell.
And now, you've got to be careful if you try and Blizzard this lot away
I wonder.
without Frostbolting first. But if you Frostbolt first, that's 3 damage that you really wanted. This game's scaring me.
It is scaring me. That Acolyte is relatively useless as well for Theo. I'm starting
Helps him
to...
fatigue himself quicker.
yeah, which is what you don't want to happen, because of course the block becomes pointless if you fatigue yourself.
Yeah, damage taken in your own turn, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Secrets just don't trigger in your own turn.
So we may just have to see a body played by Netherlands here. They can, of course, test for the secret as well by doing so.
I think, that, yeah, he's going to Blizzard and he's going to walk into it. I think he might even be slightly surprised. No surprise at all.
Yeah, unfortunately that means that now Gaiden can comfortably pop this block, and that's why Theo is sending all the damage he has to face, because he's saying, is there a way I can draw Eater of Secrets plus damage?
And very well played by Argentina. Like, they looked like they were winning this ages ago. Then the Netherlands managed to make it really tricky for them. But the board has been there. That Alex Strauss has been on the board for 5 turns.
Yeah, the defense of Alex Strauss, of course, was massive. But of course, this is why Discover Mage is typically a little bit better against Freeze Mage, because it has more board presence.
Right.
You have that option. This Pyrus has been a nuisance. Yeah, it was a 2-2, but then just having a 6-6 on the board has really helped. Medivh can really help in this situation. They haven't had to use it in this case. And now they can pop this second block of Fear. He's down to 1. Used both Primordial Glyphs, so can't find another block. So his only hope would be to draw Eater of Secrets, as well as getting something from Acolyte of Pain, like a Fireball, but we've seen both Fireballs used as well.
It's cost 1 mana.
So I think that is pretty much it now.
He's going to play the Ice Barrier and hope that Argentina can't count, but he's going to get counterspelled anyway.
So we can't even get the damage from the Valet. Netherlands having to do the honourable ping to the face, so Argentina get that 1 win. And as I said, a very crucial 1 win, because it means now the lowest that they can finish is -1, which is tied with Taiwan, which has them in a good place if they were to finish 3rd place. And I say if, because this series is still going. Argentina now, it is.
Wow.
They can still come back here.
I like how you state the obvious sometimes. Then you know I'm going to pull you up on it.
You know,
it's great.
Sometimes I like to state the obvious to you, to just be a little bit condescending, Neil.
You wouldn't do that.
I would.
Sure.
I would never do.
Never a thing that you would do.
Exactly
And
not.
so we're going to go to game 4.
We are going to go on to
It's going
game
to
4 indeed.
Old Dummy and Ties. Dummy's favourite place is Buenos Aires. All his friends live there. I thought he was going to say something amazing, like because it's got these amazing things you can see. It's just because his friends live there.
I mean, that's probably a good place for your friends to live, so you can go and visit regularly.
Now, Guidance did the same thing, but his answer was, there's a lot to see. Go to all the tourist things. It's really nice. But yeah, just want to see his friends.
Well, Shaman versus Warrior, and in terms of the HCT this weekend, Warrior again has been 50-50 with Taunt and Pirate. With the Shaman, though, it has just been Evolve, except one little straggler who's brought like a Jade, kind of echoey style.
Oh, okay. So just value Jade.
Just that one person who wants to get the value, but
that was everything not that long ago, that deck.
It was everything. And with the
oh my goodness.
With the Quest Rogue being nerfed, potentially we're going to start to see a lot more of these control decks come through.
Right.
Elemental Paladin, something that people have tried, it works, however it can be punished. Same with the Echo Shaman. I'm thinking that we might see some of these decks come back into favour.
Interesting. Because metas do tend to go cyclic, and this one, it never really got into a position where it could go cyclic because people were still making new decks all the time. But it has finally started to settle, I think. And so now it's just proceeding to be cycling around.
Just cycling around, and actually you get a lot of cycling in the Netherlands because it is, like Denmark, one of the biggest cities, or biggest countries, should I say, for cycling.
And that's what it's like your casting. It's flat.
Wow.
All right, Gore Howl in the opening hand and no quest.
Can't believe it was my birthday and you throw me under the bus like that.
Well, better than throwing you under the bicycle.
Yeah, true.
Just straight up a control warrior of some form or other. Gaskin's looking very sad. He's refusing to talk now. He's going to make me do it all by myself.
Yeah, control warrior, completely right. Gorehowl being the indicator of that. Something a little bit different, again, from the Netherlands. As we said, they're already through, so this is a good chance to play test in a competitive environment.
Sure is, and Ildame just doing what we predicted. Straightforward looking Evolve Shaman.
As straightforward as you can look with an Evolve Shaman, because that's... The Evolve Shaman is still changing a little bit as well. People are now starting to put cards here, there, and everywhere to try and shake it up a little bit as well, I guess. If you are constantly playing a deck on ladder, it can become a little bit tedious if you end up playing 200 games with it, so you just change a card, and sometimes changing that one card sometimes can just break the meta.
Just put Morose in there.
Morose would work. We've discussed this. Morose, like, I mean, why not have another Primal Fin totem that can't be destroyed? Or at least can't be targeted?
And wait for the first one to be destroyed, then play another one. Seems good to me.
Maybe that's what we need to do, Neil. We need to put Morose in our decks.
I think I already haven't.
Start laddering and make it a thing, and we can say, we thought of this.
UK Shaman.
UK Shaman,
Easy UK Shaman.
So that is the third Ysera of the day we've seen.
At least.
At least.
Yeah, I think there might even be more, but some of them came from discover effect. I don't even know what's happening with these servers. It's obviously just good.
So Dirty Rat is such a powerful card against Evolved Shaman, of course, because you have the potential to pull out the Doppelgangster.
Right.
If you can combine that with something like a Brawl or any sort of removal, then it can be massive. But you need to wait and you need to time it right. When you can read your opponent's hand and you think, right, they're starting to run out of things, there's only 2 cards left, what's the chances of that being a Doppelgangster? Probably pretty high.
It wouldn't actually be terminally bad even now. The Flame Tongue would come out, but then Eldami would have nothing else to do as it stands, and would have to trade the 2 minions in. But it would be bad timing for Ties. There's so many good 2 and 3 drops that are likely to be in Eldami's hand that I think we'll see him do nothing here.
And the Dirty Rat against a Shaman was always a massive no-no, from what I remember, because it was like, well, you could pull a 7/7.
Yeah, it could pull Aya.
Yeah, and that's the scary factor. However, now with Evolved Shaman, there's just a lot more of, well, little minions that are slightly insignificant. Like Stonehill Defender, for example. You pull that, you're great.
Yeah,
because
it just doesn't do anything apart from his battle cry and defend its other stuff.
And being a 3-mana card that could be evolved, I guess, is your another fear.
So the way to play against Control Warrior when you have identified it as such is, and don't forget the first card was the Gorehowl, which has been mulliganed away. So they don't know it's not Quest at this point, because you mulligan away the Quest is its first card. But the way to play against it is to just keep making these massive wide boards, just using your hero power, maybe just some of the cheap stuff, and keep saying, I am going to kill you with Bloodlust. And you keep doing that, and you keep doing that, and eventually the warrior has to take action, use some of its very limited AoE. Usually has just a Sleep with the Fishes combo with the Primordial Drake, and it usually just has 2 brawls. I'm not even going to talk about Alex Stars for a moment. And you just keep making them brawl away a whole bunch of nothing. Just totems.
Of course, Primal Fin Totem can be so key in this matchup, as we saw yesterday with New Zealand winning against, okay, it was Quest Warrior rather than Control Warrior, but it was still the same. They were just avoiding the taunts and they were avoiding the brawl. And on turn 5, they had a big enough board to be able to just Bloodlust. And it was a very impressive game, actually, from the New Zealand side.
Fiery War Axe can change things in a hurry here, though, getting rid of that Flame Tongue Totem. Can't see any reason how that doesn't happen. Of course, the Bloodcell Corsair will make sure that the War Axe only has 1 charge, and the Ghoul is also handy.
Ghoul is really handy as a follow-up as well.
Yeah.
Because you can fire War Axe and you just get rid of the damage immediately here. And you take out, of course, the Flame Tongue, but then next turn, the likelihood of them playing another kind of 1/1 is very likely. And then you can just be able to Ravaging Ghoul quite a lot of the board.
Yeah. Holland? The Netherlands. I'm so sorry for the people who live in all of the other...
You know, when I was looking up facts, it says you never call Netherlands Holland.
There are 2 regions that have Holland in them.
Yeah.
So it's not completely wrong.
It's not wrong, no, but it's just a...
It's wrong if you live in any of the other kingdoms, but, you know... Because it was called the Kingdom of Holland in about 1812, I believe, I seem to remember.
I always remember football team was called Holland quite often as well.
Yeah, that was wrong, though.
It was,
In 18... I think it was... I can't remember. It was like 1809 or 1812. It was actually called the Kingdom of Holland.
I mean, you were around back then, right?
Yeah, I was only youngish.
Youngish.
And they are doing what we say there, and now the Bloodcell Corsair should clean up the other half of this War Axe. It's an interaction that happens a lot in this matchup, or in I'm going to cast this as if it's Taunt Warrior with a mulliganed Quest.
Yep.
The thing that happens a lot is this just gets 1 charge. You have to use it very wisely on a very important 2-drop, otherwise this happens and you've not really got anywhere.
And the fear for Tice is that turn 5's coming up next, and now this is going to be a full board from Argentina. Or at least close to a full board, depending on the way they go. I imagine just Stonehill Defender would look for more here. Seems appropriate. But of course, Ravaging Ghoul is going to be able to deal with 3 of these minions, unless they get a healing totem here, which they don't.
1806 to 1810 I found in my week 3 notes. That was when it was called the Kingdom of Holland. Sorry. And there's 12 provinces. North Holland and South Holland are just 2. The other 10 are nothing to do with being called Holland.
Okay.
We can move on with the game now. I've just apologised to the rest of the Netherlands.
That's all right.
All right, so it's only turn 4 from Argentina, and they have another massive wide board. Despite a load of stuff being killed, Netherlands would love to Ravaging Ghoul with the Acolyte, but that's a long way off.
It is a long way off, but I think it's too tempting now not to Ravaging Ghoul.
Exactly, that's what I mean. You've got to do it now, I feel. You'd love to wait 1 turn, but you can just die.
Otherwise, you ally Armorsmith, but then I don't like that either. I mean, you have seen one Flame Tongue totem.
Yeah. And you're kind of forcing them to Bloodlust before bad stuff. Got a Dirty Rat. And now he's going to Ravaging Gore then.
Dirty Rat was pretty brave.
He wants to keep this Ravaging Gore for Execute, is what he's trying to do. It's just not happening. Too much pressure. But that's a lot of taunt.
And
Okay.
there's a Sea Giant as well. We were talking about cards coming in and out of decks, and Sea Giant was added. I think it may have been DreamHack that we first saw Sea Giant competitively brought in a tournament.
Sure, yeah, it was played a little bit before that here and there, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think it really started taking off at DreamHack.
Definitely, and then
Sea Giant, Kill Giant, that's the Warriors motto.
usually it's just the one. However, we've started to see more lists, especially at HCT at this weekend. There are lists that are just not running Devolve, and they're running Sea Giants instead.
I think 2 makes sense, to be honest. It's a very powerful card. As a boar.
Yeah, that's a welcome boar as well, I think, because that allows him to clean up this board if he would like to, and then just have a big chunky 8/8 sat in the way.
Yeah, it's really important because any damage that could have gone into this Sea Giant would have been very handy. And now, how do you deal with this? Well, you have to play the Ali Armor Smith and then execute the turn after. Just looking at these dragons, they just seem a long way off right now.
And if they do Ali Armorsmith, Ildimer is just going to be able to Jade Lightning and Jade Claws to clear up the Ali Armorsmith and then send 8 damage to face.
Yeah. It's not looking good for the Netherlands.
Tice goes for the Dirty Rat and actually pulls nothing.
This is a way of developing 2 minions, which is the best way to try and get that execute to do something, though. Going with the Ali Armorsmith could have had the fate that you declared.
Yep.
But this way, you might be able to just get that crucial 1 point of damage onto that Sea Giant, which means you can execute it and have Ali Armorsmith behind it, and maybe stabilize if your opponent doesn't have a particularly strong hand. And actually, Udami's hand isn't that exciting right now.
The portal coming off the top does mean that he can deal with this board without damaging his Sea Giant, which he may see as a good thing, but it does mean giving away 2 cards to your opponent.
Right, and they're going to have their natural draw as well. That's 3 cards to get something to work with the execute. See if they can get an activator. That's one.
Yeah, that is an activator. It's not the best activator in the world because it is using up a very important card, but actually sending or getting rid of 8 damage is pretty important too.
And that's 2015 on the line, I'm hearing now. Yeah, they want their card back.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so yeah, Shield Slam. We'll send it back to you later, guys.
Ooh.
Oh, how do you feel? How are you feeling? Are you feeling Bloodlust is going to kill you anyway if you don't brawl? Or are you feeling, I don't like Sea Giants?
I mean, I think I don't like Sea Giant.
I think you've got a brawl here, personally.
If the 8/8 wins,
Then you get eaten by an 8/8.
then you are
get 8.
down to 10 HP.
If it doesn't win, though, think of the glory. Nah, they're not scared of no Bloodlust. They've got Primordial Drake next turn. That's why this makes a lot of sense, to be honest. But, you know.
Of course, why would you be scared of Bloodlust as well? You're not dead to Bloodlust.
Yeah, you're not even dead to Bloodlust plus Flame Tongue, to be fair, so you're right.
Now this is getting awkward. Very awkward for Argentina. They're running out of things to do, apart from just hero powering, Jade Claws, but there is Primordial Drake, there is an Alex Straza, there's Ysira.
Yeah, next turn the Primordial Drake, this was right, because the Sea Giant was the only thing that doesn't die to the Drake, and then next turn, even if there is Bloodlust and Flame Tongue now, which there actually isn't, you wouldn't die. You stabilise on 8, and then turn 9 you Alex Straza yourself. And that was like worst case scenario. And yeah, Netherlands looking really good here. There is the devolve situation, but it's not going to be able to actually push any damage through because there's going to be no minions on the board. Primordial Drake just so strong. Must be one of the most played cards in this meta, along with Stonehill, I'd have thought.
And what better way to kill off all of these minions with Primordial Drake alongside Erupting Volcano as well.
Yeah, I don't even need it. Exactly.
Yeah, because now you can just combine Ravaging
And
Bull.
Ali Armor Smith's really good on an empty board
It
because it just, powers up all that armor so rapidly, especially in Shaman where it can just kill totems. This may just be enough. It won't be a concede because you can always draw Doppelgangster into your evolve, but this is enough to put Argentina in a terrible position.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see a way back now for Argentina.
You can get some pretty good Doppelgangster evolves.
Yeah, okay, you can, but there is also a Brawl already available.
Can you stop being so pessimistic? We might get 3 cans.
3 cans would be absolutely fun.
That would work.
It would work.
Brawl that.
Yeah, brawl that, bro. But they need to draw that Doppelgangster, and they're now actually just forced to devolve to try and take away a little bit of this pressure that the Netherlands are now putting on the board.
Yeah, that's worked okay. It's not going to work for long, though, is it? Just going to stress that I am aware that the Netherlands are in a good position here.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Just in case people thought I was being a bit weird.
Without a doubt.
And, Dan was also aware that I was aware in case you thought he's being a bit condescending.
Of course. Don't go making any threads about me. That would worry me.
You're so worried all the time. He's just such a nervous individual.
Obviously. Gosh, Hellscream, hello. All the value for Netherlands at the moment.
It's like, which of these completely huge monsters do you want to play?
They could just go for an offensive Alexstrasza here if they really wanted to.
I like Grom actually killing the 2-2. And something killing the 0-3. And then next turn, offensive Alexstrasza with Grom on the board.
Yeah.
That's what I like. But, I mean...
And you've already seen one devolve, and you're like, well, if you want to devolve my Grom anyway, so what? That's still going to be a 7-drop this on the board. I know 7-drops typically aren't that great, but it's still going to be something more significant than a 1-drop, of course.
I think this is one of those situations where you just can't argue whatever's played here.
Yeah, I mean...
It's however you fancy.
Tice is in such a comfortable position, and I think we can trust him piloting this as one of the best players in Hearthstone, and he's, of course, got some of the best players behind him as well, and the rest of the Netherlands side just in his ear.
Yeah.
And going through a group at 3-0 is such a dominant position to be in, and will strike fear into your opponents as well. There's that Doppelgangster, Neil. Doppelgangster into Evolve. Can you find 3 Cairn Bloodhoofs?
Yes.
Oh, yes, you can.
Hard.
What are the odds of that happening?
1 in 69 to the power 3.
Wow.
68 to the power 3. It's about 69, I'm not exactly sure.
Pretty rare.
It is indeed pretty rare.
They're considering, yeah, okay, they're considering whether to hero power first, but I guess why not?
I'll tell you why not.
Yeah, go on then.
Because that can get Doomsayer, and if you hero power after, you can get a taunt.
You can get a taunt, but are you that worried about dying this turn?
I'm not worried about dying, but I want to protect the good things that I make from my Doppelgangster. There's no really good 2-drop I'm trying to hit.
Unfortunately, for good things, Moat Lurker is not one of them. Actually, one of the worst 6-drops that you can get. Just a 3-3 that is just doing absolutely nada.
Herald Valaj.
So how do you want to approach this? How do you wrap this up most comfortably as Tice? Because they are close to wrapping this up now. You've got Dream if you really want to
the
dream
Croc
something away.
And then put the 4-12 into the 4-6, drop the Primordial Drake.
Yeah, it seems like the best way about it.
And then the only person with a dream is Argentina, to be honest.
Yeah, and then suddenly Argentina are going to be hoping that results elsewhere are going to favour them in other groups so that they can progress as a best 3rd place finisher. From my calculations, -1 is an okay spot to be.
Right.
There is still potential for other groups to still finish at -2. However, it's looking like a few people like Belgium, for example.
A few people like Belgium.
A few countries.
Belgium's
like,
a bit bigger than that.
Like Belgium, who are 1-2 and at 0 as a game difference at the moment. So they'd actually be guaranteed to go through at this point. And we'll talk about that more later when we get to their group.
Yep.
But what a position that is for them to be in.
Yeah, it's looking like these 1-win teams are going to have these good game differences, and Argentina was good going into this, losing by 2, still okay-ish.
Yeah, losing by 3 would have been very bad. Losing by 2 is still bad. It means that they're tied with Taiwan at the moment, and it comes to another tiebreaker with Taiwan.
How many ties have you just said?
It's whoever has beaten the better teams in their group. And with Taiwan beating Brazil, that puts them in a decent position.
Doppelganger, but no evolve. Grom in hand. If there's no taunts happen here, then this is going to signal the end. There's a taunt, but there's Dream in hand. So
Dream, and of course Grom there as well. So there's enough damage just to finish this game off. And I think Tice is now just thinking of what's the easiest and what's
the memeiest way
I
to
can finish this game off. Netherlands 3-0, absolutely dominating their group. 3-1, but 3-0 in the group.
Oh, in the
is
group.
What I meant.
Yeah.
And 3-1 in this game. However, for Argentina, now I'm just making a few calculations in my head, Neil.
Wow. Don't overdo it.
I don't want to overdo it because it is my birthday and you never know. However, I'm a little bit worried because Argentina, the only team they beat is Philippines, right?
Right.
Whereas with Taiwan, they beat Brazil. Now, Brazil went through. So that means Taiwan's
I see. So
record
their next tiebreaker, because they only beat the Philippines, who didn't do very well.
Well, let's have a look at all the classes that were played. As we think about those calculations, we will get more confirmation as the day goes on. It's certainly going to be interesting. But look at that, 3-1 for the Netherlands, meaning they finish 3-0 in their group, progressing to the last 16. And we're not entirely surprised, are we?
We are not. Although it was a tough group with Philippines, South Korea being the other two teams, 3-0ing that group is a powerful result.
Well, let's have an interview with Mitsuhide and see how he's feeling. Mitsuhide, I mean, you guys have absolutely dominated your group. How is the team feeling overall?
Really great. Like, we were already leading, I think, after the first groups, and now we are 3-0, so I think we're still on top. So yeah, feeling really good.
Cool. On a personal level, you have had an amazing 7 or 8 months. How's that search for a team coming along?
I've been talking with some teams, but haven't found the perfect match yet. But I'm sure that will happen somewhere this month or next month.
So anybody out there listening should get in touch with you, really. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
at least Neil's on your side completely. I mean, the fact you haven't picked up a team yet is crazy, but I'm sure that's going to arrive. Now, you guys seem to approach today a little bit differently. There were some different decks and maybe some off-meta decks. Were you just comfortable thinking we want to have a little bit of fun today?
Also that, but we also wanted to be a bit less predictable because last week we were all at Seed Story Cup, so we just basically copied the lineup of the week before.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to be like, we didn't want them to be able to predict all our decks and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important, especially going through to the last 16 as well. Just cementing yourself as a dominant team, but also not a predictable one. Congratulations again. Yeah. Best of luck in the last of 16, Mitsuhide.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And it is crazy that Mitsuhide hasn't found a team yet.
Yeah, well, it sounds like he is starting to get some talks going now.
I'm not surprised. I mean,
yeah, he really should. He's literally just gone crazy over the last 7 or 8 months.
I mean, if you can add to your resume getting to the last 16 of the global games as well, that's pretty good. If he can then go on, if the Netherlands could potentially win,
definitely win this thing.
Oh, they could totally win this whole thing. And Mitsuhide there, of course, he started off the victory train for the Netherlands as Tyler played a somewhat different kind of rogue. It wasn't the quest rogue, it was more of an aggressive variant, but it was too much for the token druid to battle against.
And we had this interesting freeze mage match where it looked quite early on as if Argentina were going to take it easily, but the Netherlands just keep putting spanners in the works all the way through. But eventually, the slight bit of extra board presence told, and Argentina did manage to force it through. No Eater of Secrets apparently from either side there.
No Eater of Secrets that we actually saw, but didn't need it in the end. Argentina were able to scrape one back. We were thinking it might have been a very important one win. However, with Netherlands winning 3-1 and looking at the tiebreakers potentially between Argentina and both Taiwan, who are currently in 3rd place in their groups respectively, we may have seen Argentina eliminated from the group. We'll have more confirmation as the day goes on, of course, when we get a little bit more time to calculate, and it's not just quickly in my head. Because sometimes that can go wrong.
It's been known.
I think I am being fairly accurate with that. And we will have a look at the final group standings for this group as well. Of course, it has been a very tough group, as Neil said. We didn't know how it was going to be predicted, but it is Netherlands and South Korea moving on. However, for Argentina, all they can hope for is that 3rd place finish. But we've already seen Taiwan finish in 3rd. They're -1 as well. But Taiwan did manage to that's the thing. Taiwan's victories, is it any better? Who knows? It's going to be all about those head-to-head scores. Maybe Argentina can still move through. Maybe Taiwan can still move through. Everyone's going to be watching. Everyone's going to be hoping that they can move through as third place.
Yeah, everybody needs to be watching. That includes you guys. So keep watching.
Yeah, definitely keep watching. We are going to go for a quick break, but when we are back, we're going to have Austria versus Peru. We'll see you then.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.